with your host Tana, where we explore practical ways to bring more peace, intention, and joy into our daily lives. Now, today we are talking about something that impacts all of us, our living spaces. Whether we realize it or not, the way we organize or don't organize our homes can have a major effect on our mindset, stress levels, and even our overall happiness. And today, for this conversation, I'm thrilled to be joined by Crystal Nerpel, an organizational expert, certified life coach, and the author of Loving Your Home. Now, let me share a bit about Crystal with all of your listeners. She has spent years helping people create beautiful and functional spaces, but she does it in a way that's different from your typical buy or more storage bins approach. She believes in cutting through the fluff and getting to the heart of what really matters, creating a home that supports the life you truly want to live. So, if you have ever felt overwhelmed by clutter, frustrated and struggling to find an organizing system that works for you, or just want to make your home a space that feels good to be in, this episode is definitely for you. So, with that, Crystal, welcome to the show, and it's an absolute pleasure having you with us.
Thank you so much, Sana. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great, great. So, Crystal, every person has their own natural organizing style. So, can you break down the different styles and how people can identify which one fits them the best?
Absolutely. Everybody functions differently because our brains work differently. For instance, my husband and I function totally differently. We do not organize the same. And I didn't discover this until years into my organizing practice. I would
Uh-huh.
go into people's homes, for example, and organize for them and come up with beautiful systems, things
Mhm.
that were very functional and practical. And I noticed that they did not stay organized, and I would have to
Mhm.
come back and redo the systems, and we would try it again, and I finally discovered it's because they don't organize like I do because their brains work differently. So
Oh, okay.
some people need to see their belongings and everything needs to be out in the open, and if you're
Mhm.
working with, like for me as a professional organizer, when I was working with people like that, I was using the traditional route of putting everything away to make it look neat and tidy and putting them inside drawers. And that was sabotaging those people who are visual organizers. So instead of putting things away, you want to hang things on walls or leave them out in the open in baskets to where it's easier for you to function the way you naturally function. I always say you never want to change the way you function. There's nothing wrong with you. You are not broken. You just want to change
Mhm. Mhm.
functions. And then there are those people who, again, the traditional way of organizing is to have everything categorized into like categories. So let's just talk about office supplies.
Okay.
So all of the pens together, all of the pencils together, all of the little
Mhm.
sticky post it notes together. And to me, that makes sense and that's logical. And I'll even take it a step further and I will organize things by color. I'll organize
Yeah.
things by size, and that is too detailed for some people. Some people that's perfect, but some
Mhm.
people just makes their brain short circuit and then they don't organize at all because they think they're doing it incorrectly and they
Mhm.
are not organized. So it is okay to have one drawer at the top of your desk, let's say for anything that's related to writing. Just throw it in there and dump it in there. And if that works for
Mhm.
you, like it does for my husband, that is okay. So just make sure you're organizing the way that works for
Mhm.
you. So you're not sabotaging yourself and doing it incorrectly, if that makes any sense. And then big categories versus detailed and visual versus people who like to have their things put
Mhm.
away. And I'm kind of a combination of all of those things. So you have to figure out what works for you.
Hmm. Makes sense. Makes really good sense. And I love that you brought about organizing uh color wise. I know some people They already have like uh, sets of dresses or shoes to pair with, everything organized, and they're
Mm.
just ready to go with. So I think it's really interesting to see how the personality of a person is reflected in the way they organize or they may not organize. So I think this is really so much personalized and individual, but really, really personal.
Yes, absolutely. It makes a difference. And a lot of times, because you see on social media all the beautiful rainbow organizing, like
Yeah.
you're saying, the colors, and then you look at
Yeah.
your house and you're like, ooh, mine doesn't look like that at all. So then you judge yourself thinking you're not organized. And that is so incorrect. You don't
Yeah.
have to do it the way other people do it. You can make it work for you.
That's really encouraging. So, you know, uh, when many people with they struggle with organizing because they feel emotionally attached to the things. For example, sometimes there is a sentimental value attached to a thing which may not no longer be of use uh, to us. So, how can someone begin to let go of clutter without feeling guilty or anxious or frustrated?
It is something that I just dealt with this weekend with my mother, actually. These are belongings, like, I just want to give you a tangible example. So, my mother's dear friend just passed away. And so she inherited some belongings that were not hers, and these things are falling apart. Nobody wants to buy them from her. They really do probably need to be put in the trash. However, there is sentimental value to it because it belonged to somebody she loves and she wants to honor that person. But what
Mhm.
happens is that creates a huge burden on your shoulders. So, specifically, what we consider sentimental items, a lot of times we're not even holding on to something because it's sentimental to you. It's because you feel like the person, possibly someone who has passed away, has given it to you. You feel guilty for letting it go. And I just want to remind
Mhm.
you, if you had a good relationship with that person, they will not judge you, alive
Yeah.
or not. They won't judge you for letting go of something that is causing you severe anxiety. This was causing my poor mother anxiety for hanging on to things and making sure that
Mhm.
she was doing the correct thing to honor her friend. And that also goes down to releasing control and just being aware of why you're
Mhm.
hanging to it. It's either, feeling like you need to have control of everything that goes on around you, and you do not. That is too much pressure to put on yourself. And also perfectionism. I've realized there's a big connection between people who have clutter and people who want to do everything perfectly. So if they don't know how
Mhm.
to correctly declutter or to correctly organize in their minds, they think it's correct. There's no right or wrong. But if they can't figure out the correct way to do it or the perfect way to do it, they just don't do it at all. And then they are still burdened with that clutter. So, my advice is to just make a decision, make a choice. Do you want to continue to feel the way that you do by hanging on to the clutter, or would you rather go ahead and let that clutter go and feel better? And I kind of equate it to ripping off a bandage that is stuck to your skin and your hair on your arm,
Yeah.
possibly. And you know that is gonna sting when you rip it off, but you also know that 1 second later, you're gonna be able to breathe a sigh of relief and you're gonna feel free. And it's gonna feel good to rip that bandage off and let go of that one thing. And just do it a little at a time. One thing at a time is fine too. You don't have to do it all at once.
Wow. That's really, really, and I really love that approach. I think it's really, really about shifting perspective rather than just getting rid of the stuff. Um,
Mhm,
Also, there's a lot of advice out there, Crystal, that says that if you haven't used it in a year, just toss it. But that
mhm,
doesn't always work for everyone. I have had several instances where I didn't use a particular, let's say, um, some kind of artifact or maybe a pen stand or a diary which was gifted to me. I didn't use it for a year. And, I threw that pen stand out of frustration because everything in my almirah was completely like, in a mess. So I did that. But what exactly is a more realistic way to determine what to keep? and what to let go of.
Mhm. And it's just a mindset shift. There are probably many things at play there. When you hang on to something you know you don't love, you know you don't want it,
Mm,
but you can't let it go. So just being aware,
mm,
asking yourself, why am I hanging on to this? A big one that comes up is the excuse of, and I consider them all excuses. It's just an excuse not to let it go. Money.
mm,
Well, I spent a
mm,
lot of money on this thing. So the fact that I'm just going to either because it's broken, throw it away or give it to somebody else, it feels like a waste of money because I spent so much money on it. But I heard once somebody say, actually, you're not wasting the money. The money was wasted when you bought it. So the money is already gone. So getting rid of the thing is not getting rid of the money. You already did that.
mm,
So just understanding that you're really not wasting money when you let something go. You are freeing up space in your mind and also in your home to bring in things you actually like if you would like to. And then,
mhm,
of course, the guilt, like we talked about, just releasing that guilt. And so, really digging deep and asking yourself that question: why am I hanging on to this if I don't love it? Because that is not
mhm,
honoring you. And I'll just give you another example of a personal example of mine is I
mhm.
recently found myself staring at some clothes that I do not love. And
Okay.
I'm like, why do I have these things? I mean, I teach other people to
Mhm,
let go and I want to make room in my closet to bring in things that I like. And it's because I didn't want to hurt my husband's feelings because they were a gift. So again, I had the conversation with my husband to let him know that I really do like to pick out my own clothing and I didn't want to hurt his
mhm,
feelings, but I'm going to go ahead and let these things go because they're not clothing's very personal to me. It has to fit my
mhm,
personality. So just being honest with him actually relieved so much pressure. And he said, "Oh, okay. Well, I totally understand where you're coming from." So we put so much more
mhm.
pressure on ourselves than the gift giver does. Someone loves you and gives you a gift. They know you're not going to keep it the rest of your life. It's okay to let it
Yeah,
go.
that's a very, very practical approach. Great, great. Also, Crystal, sometimes, organizing it feels like a never-ending task. Um, Taking the stuff out, then planning what to keep, where to keep, how to keep. Uh, it can be really overwhelming, and I have lived through that experiences multiple times when shifting, houses or rooms in hostel or maybe in city during my corporate stint. So, how can people set up sustainable systems so they are not constantly tidying up or reorganizing their space?
Mhm. Well, it is a constant. I'm afraid to say, you do constantly have to make sure you're paying attention. And depending on your situation, if it's just like a day to day and to just maintain, there are a few decluttering games or mind tricks that I like to play with myself. If I find that I notice that I'm like, oh, the clutter's because even I have clutter that kind of starts to like creep in on me. So, two
Mhm,
things I like to do, and they're not necessarily systems, I just do it every so often, but is I pretend like I am moving. I'm going to pretend like I'm moving to my dream house in my dream
mhm,
location. And there's this limited amount of space, and it's just the perfect home for me, but I can only take so much. And so I look at an item and I say, would I want to carry this with me into the next stage of life, into my perfect ideal home? And for some reason, that just takes the emotion out of it for me. And it makes it really easy to say, no, I don't want that thing in my new house, even if I'm not moving. And there's another thing you can do, there is a great book called The Art of Swedish Death Cleaning, which sounds crazy, but you just ask yourself, if I were to pass away, would I wanna leave all of this stuff for my family to deal with? So then you kinda declutter like you're dying, which I know sounds tragic,
Oh,
but it's
yeah.
just, I mean, it's a reality. And
Uh-huh.
just keep essentials, if that helps you. That motivates a lot of people. The container rule is one more that I like to offer too. And I'm sure this is a very common one that professional organizers suggest. When you buy something,
Mhm.
find something to get rid of. So the one in, one out, meaning that you have just a certain amount of space, this container, like your closet is a container, your house is a container, and it can only hold so much stuff. So if you bring something new in, you're gonna have to get rid of something and get rid of your least favorite thing. Even if you like that thing, you can figure out which one of those things is your least favorite. And also keep in mind that your mind and your body are also containers. So the more stuff you bring into your house, the more responsibilities you have, the more obligations you have to take care of it, the more things you put on your to-do list, your mind and your brain can only take so much. So remember to also get rid of those tasks that you don't necessarily need to be doing every day, but for some reason you've told yourself you need to take care of it. Let other people do things that they can take care of or do things for you as well. So I wanted to make sure I said that too.
Mm, that makes so much sense. So much sense. Um, and also, uh, I think that's really a great point because, of course, small daily habits they play a huge role in maintaining organization rather than having to do massive overhauls every few months. And I think the one uh, tip or strategy that struck with me is the one in and the one out. If you're buying something new, just make sure to dump something old or which is of no use to you, because that way you'll have you know a balance created. So the equation is completed. So that's a really good takeaway, I think, for our listeners as well, at least for me personally. So thank you for sharing that.
Good. You're welcome.
And also, Crystal, what's one thing someone could do today, right after listening to this episode, to start transforming their home into a space they love?
This is going to sound very simple and maybe obvious,
Okay.
but
Mm-hmm.
literally pick up one thing and get it out of your house. I mean, if
Yeah.
you did that one thing today, then you're just going to create momentum to be able to do more. So if you do feel like you're stuck in clutter, then pick one thing up and get rid of it. And that is harder to do than it may seem. For some of us, decluttering is very easy. We have no emotional attachment to it. But a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people really, really do struggle with it. And to bring my husband up again, he has a very hard time letting go of things. And a lot of it is because he spent good money on it, or he just doesn't have time to deal with it. So anytime he picks something up and actually puts it in the donation bin, it is something to be celebrated, and so celebrate yourself too. Say, "Good job, I did it," and then move on with your day. I don't think decluttering should be something that you spend hours and hours and hours doing because you'll hate it. So, tiny little bit every day, and you'll see progress before you know it.
True, true. Great. And also, I think we didn't touch upon this, Crystal. So, what exactly, and it is a bit personal question, what exactly attracted or brought you to this world of organizing, mindful organizing? What was your journey like?
Okay, I'm gonna try to make this short, but it's a long story.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's just so I've written a book, Loving Your Home, and I talk a lot about my parents in this book. So I think it
Mm-hmm.
starts with my childhood and how my mother and both my father, they both tend to hang on to things. And I didn't notice that when I was a child because it just was what it was. And then I grew up and became an adult, and I carried some of their habits with me into adulthood.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it was just struggling. I just expected to struggle, so I got struggle because I saw them struggling. And one day I was standing in the middle of the kitchen and
Mm-hmm.
we had clutter everywhere, and I think I was having a mini panic attack or meltdown, I don't know what it was, but I was just frustrated with my situation and how we had this beautiful home and we weren't taking care of it, and I feel like I just got a download from, I don't know, the universe, God. I just all of a sudden
Oh,
something and snapped, and I said, "Huh, I have a choice in this moment. I can either stay stuck in this and be irritated and frustrated every day, or I could stop and see see it for what it is. This is an opportunity for me to take care of my home. And in that
Okay.
moment, I remember the day so specifically. It was in 2017. I said, I think I'm going to go ahead and love my home instead of struggling with it all the time. And so I made that decision right then and there. I was going to learn how to declutter and organize, and I did so. I organized my entire home. And I did it in a way, that just felt good to me. It took me about a year for me to finally start being like, I have a really nice decluttered home. And then I just decided to do it with other people and opened up the Loving Your Home Club, which is a membership site where I taught other women how to do the same thing. And anytime we put love into our homes in certain areas of our home, certain areas of our lives would start to shift and change in positive directions. And that's when I realized this is about mindset. This is not about your stuff. This is about choosing to love yourself enough to take care of your home.
Wow. Wow. That's such. I think definitely it was the universe, and this this is your purpose, and that is so such an inspiring journey. And thank you so much for you know teaching us, making us realize, become aware that how you break organization down into something as practical, personal, and even liberating rather than just another chore to check out or check off the list. So if our listeners would want to dive deep into your approach, and also check out your book, how they can do that.
The easiest way is just to go to my website. So it's crystalnerpel.com, and you can find my book there, blog posts. There's a link to my Instagram page there as well. And yes, I would love for you to check that out. And it's just, yes, it is my goal in life to inspire other women, other people to know that this can be done. And it's not, you're not alone on this journey for sure.
Lovely, lovely. We'll have all the details mentioned in the show notes. And thank you so much, Crystal, once again for this valuable conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Sana. This has been great. I appreciate it.
And to all of our listeners, I hope this episode has inspired you to look at your space with fresh eyes and maybe even take that one small step today toward creating a home that feels good to be in. If you love this conversation, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend who might need a little organizing inspiration. Until next time, keep living with intention and making space for what truly matters. Thank you and take care.